Hi, it's Elizabeth again. Let's solve a percentage word problem together. So we're going to start with Christy's checklist for solving word problems. So our first step is to understand the problem. This is a really important step that a lot of people kind of tend to go too quickly on, because in our minds, in our brains, we work with words and we work with numbers in two different places. And if we just jump right in with the numbers before we really understand the problem, sometimes that can be a little bit confusing. We need to take the words and the numbers separately. So we're going to start by rereading the problem. We'll visualize it and look up any unknown words if we need to. And then this is going to be the really important thing, is determine what information we need to solve the problem, and then figure out if there's any missing information. And remember, with our percentage problems, there'll be 3 possible things that we could know. We'll be given 2 of them, and we need to find the third thing. So that's going to be our missing information. So let's take a look here. On his math test, Carlos got 48 questions correct out of 64. What percent of the questions did Carlos answer correctly? Okay, so the first thing that we need to figure out is, what is it that we're trying to find? So I'm just going to go ahead and write finding. This is what we're going to find. Okay, let's see. He got 48 questions correct out of 64, so I know how many he got correct. I'm not trying to find that. There were 64 questions altogether, so I know I'm not trying to find how many questions there were. So let's go. What percent of the questions did Carlos answer correctly? Okay, so we're trying to find the percent of questions Carlos answered correctly. Okay, and this is awesome, because the thing with percentage problems is that, again, we have 3 possible things we could know, and we're trying to find one thing when we're given the other 2. So we have figured out that what we're finding is the percentage of questions. That means the percentage is the thing that I don't have. So if we return to the percent circle, I can take my hand and I'm going to cover up the thing that I don't have, which is the percentage. And remember that this line means to divide. And so the symbols that are left tell me what I need to do. The P stands for the part, the W stands for the whole, and I need to take the part and divide it by the whole. Okay, so let's go back to the checklist. Step 2, make a plan to solve the problem. We're going to come up with a strategy and then estimate the answer. Okay, so let's take a look here. I know that I am trying to find the percentage. That tells me that I have the part and the whole up here in my question. So I'm going to figure out which one is which. Okay. On his test, Carlos got 48 questions correct out of 64. Well, let's see. If there are 64 questions altogether, that tells me that's the whole thing. The entire test was 64. So I'm going to label that whole. And then I know I'm looking for the percent. So the part is right here, and this makes sense. 48 questions correct. Well, he got 48 of the 64. 48 is part of the 64. So now I've identified the information that I have to work with, and I know that my strategy is that I'm going to take the part and divide it by the whole. So let me go ahead and translate that into what we have in our problem. Here's my part, here is my whole. Okay, so the part's going to go on top, and it's right here. He got 48 questions correct out of the whole, which is 64. So here I've taken the part, which is 48, divided by the whole, which is 64. If I think in terms of percentages, this is where Christy tells us we need to estimate the answer. 48 is more than 50% of 64. So I think my answer is going to be more than 50%. I would guess that my answer is going to be somewhere between 60 and 80%. Let's see if we get right in there. Okay, if I take 48 and divide it by 64, well, I'm dividing a smaller number by a larger number, which means that I'm going to get an answer that's less than 1. 48 divided by 64 is 0.75. So our final step, because remember we're trying to find a percent, I don't want to leave my answer looking like a decimal. And what we do is we multiply it by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. And this gives me 75%. I'm going to go ahead and put a box around that so that we can see. Okay, so let's go back to our checklist. Okay, we want to reflect on the problem. Did we answer the question? Yes, we did. And is your answer close to the estimate? Well, I estimated that we would be between 60 and 80%. So that to me seems reasonable. So Carlos got 48 questions correct out of 64, which means that he answered 75% of the questions correctly.